Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of this journey to searing the perfect steak in cast iron. Today, what we're going to be testing is whether it makes sense to rest your steak or not. There's a lot of different conflicting opinions on this out there. The main argument for letting your steak rest is that those juices will evenly redistribute throughout the steak, and when you slice into it, you won't lose as much moisture, and then as a consequence you'll have a juicier steak and a better outcome. The arguments around not letting your steak rest are really to avoid having the steak cool down. You'll get things like the fat starting to become more rubbery, and just a cooler steak has less of that kind of mouthfeel that you're looking for. So we're going to test it out here today, so stick around. We're going to start with 2 prime grade New York strips. And you'll see here we've got the cooling rack out, the steaks are on it. We're going to be preparing for our 48-hour dry brine. We did one of the tests, and so far, out of any of the tests we've done, the biggest difference on getting the perfect crust has been this dry brine. So we've got the time, we're going to do that in this video. So just pat down the steaks nice and dry with paper towel. Do that on both sides here. Get it on the edges. Great, now that we've got these New York strips dried out, we're just gonna add a little bit of salt to start the dry brine process. So be generous, we've got nice and thick steaks here, so you don't have to worry about over salting these. The dry brine process is really just gonna eliminate all of the moisture from the surface of the steak, and we think that's what led to it giving us the perfect sear in that other video. So there we go, pat down one side, pat down the other. Now you want to make sure we get the sides here as well. Now let's get these in the fridge for 48 hours. All right, so we've had these 2 New York strips sitting in the fridge for 48 hours. You can start to see, I think it's the myoglobin or maybe it's the hemoglobin, you tell us. Has really started to spread into the fat caps on these New York strips. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna head outside, sear these off in cast iron, and we'll see whether it's better to rest or not rest your steak. Let's head out there. All right, we got the steaks out here. We got the pan starting to heat up, and this dry brining just does an incredible job of eliminating all the moisture off of the steaks. So when we drop them in the pan, all of the heat should go to searing the steak and not evaporating any moisture. So let's just check the temp of the pan. What we're gonna want on this temp gun here is something north of 4 to 450. Got 465 on the reading. I'm gonna put a little bit of avocado oil in the pan. Again, avocado oil, it's just better from it has a higher smoke point than a lot of other oils, so you want to make sure you're using that. Now let's just make sure we get an even layer around the pan. Now let's drop on our steaks. Close this lid down. We'll give that 4 minutes. Not going to touch it during that entire period. All right, it's been 4 minutes on this side. Now we're just going to want to flip these steaks. Look at that crust. This is incredible. Love that browning effect here. Now we're also going to add in some butter. Go generous with it. Add in some garlic. And a little bit of thyme. And you want to roughen your thyme up a little bit, it'll just release a little bit more flavor. Just like this. Get that in there. So we're going to close this down. Right, we've got about 2 minutes left in this cook. So we're just going to want to give this a good basting. Make sure you get some of that rosemary up on the steak. feel the heat coming off this grill. All right, give it a good basting. Just like that. Now put it down for the final 2 minutes. If you want to see the kind of crust we're getting here, just look at that. Perfect Maillard reaction. Let that keep going. Got the same on the other steak here. Just beautiful. Now we're just gonna check temps. We're looking for 128, 129, perfect. And here 127. Okay, so we're gonna pull these steaks and get these inside. Just look at that. Beautiful. And don't forget these little pieces of garlic. They taste absolutely incredible. Put them on the side of your cutting board. Serve them up to whoever's feeling lucky at dinner. All right, so these are fresh off the grill. We're gonna cut into this first one. We've actually got a special cutting board just for this exercise. It's got a bit of a dimple in the middle here. So if this steak releases too much juice, because that's what the argument is for not slicing in too early, we're gonna be able to retain all that juice on this cutting board. Now, for this taste test, what we're gonna do is dig in straight away, because part of the argument for not actually resting your steak is just the overall mouthfeel, eating your steak while it's nice and hot. So let's dig in and see how this goes. Oh, biting into that, you've got a really crunchy crust. By not letting it rest, it hasn't had a chance to soften at all. Really nice temperature. It's basically what we took it off the grill at. And that fat cap just melts in your mouth like butter. Now this is a pretty good outcome, but. Now another drawback of not being able to rest your steak is that you can't put compound butter on while it's resting. So even though this steak is resting, we haven't done it because we don't want to, skew the competition where the butter will melt, release a bunch of juice, and skew the amount of liquids or the appearance of the amount of liquids that each steak releases. So here, we've had this resting for 10 minutes. We're gonna see whether there's any difference. You can still hear the crunch of the crust as the knife's going through. Now let's take out a slice from the middle. Look at that, perfect medium rare. Maybe the crust has actually softened a little bit. We still definitely have hot to the touch, but let's give this a taste test and see if we can taste a difference. Oh my gosh, that is so good. I actually feel like this is a juicier steak. When you bite into it, you feel a bit more of an explosion of the juices that just go through your mouth. Oh my God, that is so good. Make this for your friends and family next time. They will thank you. Oh, I love doing New York strips on cast iron like this. This steak journey has been one of the best experiences for us. We've got more videos to come. But on this one, I'm declaring the winner, resting your steak. While you give up a little bit of the crunch on the crust, we've shown in previous videos that resting really doesn't force the temperature down all that much from where you remove it off the cast iron. And we are definitely feeling a crunchier taste. Just look at that. Perfect medium rare. Still have nice soft fat cap that hasn't hardened up like some people would suggest while it's been resting. So let's show you just how much liquid came out. Not that much. and we'll pan over to the other one. You can definitely see a larger pool of blood there that's released, or juice that's released out of the steak. So if you like this video, give it a like below. Make sure you subscribe, smash that button, hit the notification bell so you get notified on all our future videos. Thanks for tuning in, folks.